We are making our green wraps. We're gonna make our green wraps. The fruit flies want some food. So we're gonna make our green wraps really briefly. The green wraps are pretty simple and easy. You just need the proper ingredients for it, right? So we have our papaya here that we're going to use. Papaya adds a really good texture to any wrap, right? And then we have our coconut meat here, and this is young coconut meat. So the young coconut meat is pliable, right? Okay. And then we have our callaloo, which you could use kale if you wanted to. Callaloo is local here in Belize, so that's what we choose to use. And then we have our bell pepper, we have our flax, which is gonna also be more like the binder, and it's gonna provide some texture of breadiness, but we always want to be mindful with how much flax we use because it can get kind of slimy if you use too much. And then we have our onion, of course, for some flavor. And then we have our pepper sauce that we made already. So we're going to use some of this. It's our mango pepper sauce here. And like I said, the wraps are pretty simple and pretty easy. So we're pretty much gonna just put everything in the blender and blend it right up and put it on the dehydrator sheet and dehydrate it for 6 to 8 hours, and that's it. It's pretty simple, right? So we have half a cup of onion. We have 1 cup of our coconut meat here. We have half a cup of papaya. And we're going to use 1/4 cup of flax. And we have 4 cups of callaloo. This is a green wrap. These are green wraps. This is an excellent way to get even your children to eat greens. Right? Now the papaya is going to add The papaya is, man, there's so much noise. So the papaya is going to add a little bit of sweetness to offset the bitterness of the greens. And we're going to add 2 deglet dates as well straight to the blender for that same purpose. The wrap is not going to be sweet, but it will offset the bitterness of the greens. The bell pepper also, with its slight sweetness, will offset that as well. And then we have, and that is about 1/3 cup of bell pepper. And we have 1 tablespoon of paprika and 1 teaspoon of sea salt. You can use smoked paprika if you can find it. That will add a great flavor to the wrap. And we have 1 tablespoon of olive oil, and we're going to add 1 tablespoon of our pepper sauce here. It'll be a little spicy. We like a little spice. Okay, now we're gonna go ahead and add about, I would say, half a cup to 1 cup of water to this. So we added our half a cup of water to the mixture. We don't want to add too much water because you always want to make sure when you are starting your blender, I always repeat the same thing in every course, you always want to make sure that all the knobs are at low. You see how this is at 10? We want to always make sure it's at 0 before we start it. And the reason for this is to avoid for everything splashing up. So you always start your blender on low, right? So we started the blender at our smallest speed here, and we turn it on, turn it up, and then okay, so you want to make sure that you don't add too much water to this mixture, because if you add too much water, then the wraps will break apart easily, right? So we wanted to still hold it. I don't know if you've ever tried it. I know I have tried making wraps, or I have made wraps, and they have all kind of holes in them. I still use them. There's nothing wrong with still using them, but it does defeat the purpose of a wrap, right? So we want to make sure that we don't have too much water in the mixture, because we also have fresh ingredients in there that contain their own water. The onion contains its own water, the papaya contains its own water, the bell pepper contains its own water, even the callaloo and the coconut contain its own water. We just add a little bit of water to move the blade in the mixture, okay? I also find that if you don't mix the mixture in the blender well enough, sometimes too, that will cause the wraps to break apart. So even if your mixture is a little warm, it's okay, because what that means is that all of the ingredients are really mixed well together. And when we're talking about wraps, we want the flax to be well incorporated. We want the qualities of the papaya as well as the coconut to come out in the wrap, where it helps to solidify it so it doesn't break apart easily. So we're gonna go ahead and put this on the dehydrator sheet. I'm gonna show you how, and we're gonna smooth it out using an offset spatula, and we're gonna dehydrate it for 6 to 8 hours at 117 degrees. Okay, so we have our mixture here. We have our offset spatula right here, okay? And we're making wraps. You can make them as small as you want to, but I'm envisioning a nice thick burrito, right? Almost like Tassili's wrap, but all live, all vegan, no flour, no tortillas. You know, these tortillas right here, India, Chef India's tortillas. So we're going to put it in the middle of the sheet here. So we're pouring it in the middle of the sheet here. Nice size, I would say about at least a cup maybe. And using our offset spatula, we want to tilt the edge of the spatula that's facing toward us, tilt it forward a little bit, and the other edge, we're going the other way. We want to tilt the offset spatula of the edge that is away from us out a little bit, and the one that's closest to us in a little bit. So kind of looks like that when you're spreading it, right? It takes some practice, and if you can't spin your tortilla how I'm spinning the tortilla here, don't worry about it. You'll get it. You'll get it eventually. We don't want to spread the tortilla too thin, and we want to keep in mind that when it dehydrates, it's going to shrink a little bit, okay? So you want to keep that in mind. All right, I think that this will make a nice sized burrito here. Look at that. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're going to put this in the, the birds, don't mind the birds. We're gonna put this in the dehydrator for, I would say, well, first we're gonna start with about 4.5 hours. And after the 4.5 hours, we're going to flip the tortilla, and we're going to remove the teflex, and I will show you how to do that. Okay, so we're going to put this in. Now what we want to keep in mind is that the spatula has a specific anatomy. The front edge of the spatula has there's two different parts of the spatula, excuse the green on it, but there's the straight edge and then there's the curved edge. A lot of people misuse the spatula and they do this, right? You want to take the straight edge of the spatula and you want to use it to lift up what it is that is on your spatula here, or whatever you're taking out of the blender. So the straight edge we use to scrape the sides of the spatula, scrape the sides of the blender and lift up. The curved edge is for a different purpose. Okay. And you can go ahead and use the flat edge to get underneath the blade. Okay, so as you see here, the tortilla shell, or the green tortilla shell, is nice and dehydrated. It's been about 6 hours. It's not completely done. It's still kind of soft on the inside. Underneath here. So what we're gonna do, and there are some little cracks here that haven't gone all the way through, give thanks, but we're gonna show you how you can fix those cracks as well, right? So we're going to we're gonna take the Teflex sheet and we're going to flip it right over onto the screen here, the dehydrator screen. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna lift off the dehydrator sheet. Now, if you get some pieces that stick or some of the mixture stick, just take your offset spatula and just kind of scrape it off of the top here. All right. Okay. Like here. All right, so we see that some of the part is not finished being dehydrated. It's not completely dry. We're gonna use our offset spatula and we're gonna utilize that part that's not completely dry and fill in the cracks from underneath. Just like that. And any parts that you see that's not fully reinforced, we'll use the wet mixture and spread it around with the dehydrator. Excuse me, with the offset spatula. We'll spread it around with the offset spatula. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and put this back in the dehydrator until it's done. It will take maybe about an hour or 2 hours to be completely done. When mouth shut off like a cat in the dark, find price and find falling dark. When some